Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, even. Good morning, everybody. I am so proud and privileged to welcome you to this Interfaith press conference. Never before in COPs, I don't think, have we heard the voice of faith so strongly. We've had a very, very strong ethical and moral agenda being pointed down to us from the heads of nations' speeches and throughout lots of different sessions. Climate change is a moral and ethical issue, so I'm very pleased to welcome a panel of 6 very distinguished people from across the faith community. My name is Christine Allen, and I work for Christian Aid, which is a UK-based NGO, but I'm moderating this on behalf of the World Council of Churches, which provides space and platforms for churches to come together to reflect and to share. So, how we're going to do this, we don't have a great deal of time, and we've got an enormous amount of knowledge on the panel. So if any media people want to talk to panelists or other colleagues in the audience afterwards, please do. You're more than welcome to do that. I'm going to introduce from this side and I'm going to start from that side. So on my far right, Archbishop Seraphim from the Greek Orthodox Church, Michel Roy from Caritas Internationalis, which is the Global Catholic Network, Deborah Boudre from the Buddhist Sao-Chi Foundation, Archbishop Antti Jackelin from the Church of Sweden, Sister Jaiti from Brahma Kumaris, and on my far left, Bernd Niels from SIDSE, which is the European Catholic Advocacy Network. So we're going to ask each of them to give a couple of minutes each, and I have to be a bit strict, but I'm sure you would understand. And so while you're listening, please do be formulating your questions. Bernd, would you like to kick us off with the contribution faiths are making to this COP and what's on your mind at the moment? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So SIDS is the International Alliance of Catholic Development Agencies, 17 members from actually North America and Europe. We advocate here at this COP A for justice, which is a big term, but which has concrete meanings for the outcomes of this COP. That means, as Pope Francis framed it, he called to recognize ecological debt, which means that developed countries have to take a higher responsibility, have to recognize their historical responsibilities, and that there will be no deal here in Paris without common but differential responsibilities. We call for a transformational agreement which really puts us on a new path of living on this planet, on living together, as Pope Francis calls on us to really bring us on a new understanding of progress. And that means here for Paris, very concretely, we need long-term goals, concrete long-term goals, decarbonization by mid-century, by 2050. We need 100% renewables by 2050, and we need to stay below 1.5 degrees to respect the vulnerability of many coastal areas, small island states, and many vulnerable people on this planet. We need solidarity, and that means we need climate finance. Without climate finance commitments, no deal here in Paris. And we need food security and human rights in Article 2. We know that there are many governments questioning the human rights. The human rights are still in brackets. We have a new text this morning, still in brackets. It's very disappointing. And food security is not in Article 2 yet. We want to have it in. There's only food production by some agro-industrial players got into the text. This is very disappointing. And my last point to make, we need accountability. We need a strong review mechanism. We need reliable results for the long term. And so we are happy to hear that governments seem to be willing to move to start the review mechanism in 2018, which is very good news for mitigation, not for finance. But I think it's a move in the right direction. We need binding results from Paris, accountability and impact. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bernd. I think that was a fantastic overview from the perspective of solidarity in particular. So please be aware of Bernd's expertise in that area. Sister Janti from the Brahmani, would you like to reflect now?
Thank you very much. And I think you've given a brilliant overview of everything, so I won't go into very technical details, but one of the things that I know we can all do is change our lifestyle and learn to live simply And so I think all faith traditions stand together in asking for this. Secondly, if we can make sensible choices and understand the impact that our choices are going to have on the environment and on those around us. We share one planet, one home, and so whatever happens in one part of the world is going to impact the other. There's no part of the world that can say that this doesn't touch me. And so that understanding that we all have to work together for the future. A big concern also is that the developing countries should be able to develop themselves. Like, for example, India has, I think, millions of people still without electricity. And so how do you satisfy their basic needs and yet still be able to reduce consumption, reduce emissions? All this means finance, adaptation, mitigation. So these are the things that would be my major concern. And although I mentioned India specifically, but the concern is for the poor across the world. Thank you.
Oh, Sister Jati, thank you so much. Archbishop Antia from Church of Sweden, you've been working a lot on this issue for climate change.
Yes, thank you very much. 5 quick points on this. What's the role of faith leaders in all this? And there are several reasons why we have an important role, I think. This is about moral and ethical choices. This is about values and lifestyle. This is about what the role of human beings is in nature and creation. And this is how we got there via the views of nature and creation we have had in the past. Second, this is about leadership. Religious leaders in many respects have a power to influence agendas, both on decisive levels, but also on the levels of so-called grassroots. Third point, this is about climate justice. Whose voices do we hear? And why is it that 108 the most vulnerable countries in this earth talk about 1.5 rather than 2 degrees as a goal? We need to hear these voices and make them heard. We also need to include loss and damage in these deliberations. So these are examples of climate justice, and religions stand together to advocate for climate justice. Then it is about being good stewards of our own resources. I belong to a church that has some assets, both in terms of forest and land, which we have to be good stewards of, but also of money. And we use our assets for advocacy, to influence companies towards a more sustainable way of doing business. But also, and mainly, we have used our assets to divest from fossil fuel companies, which has been quite influential and encouraged others. And we have been able to really show that sustainable investment has increased our returns. So it's not about not making money, but it's making money and doing it in a responsible way. Thank you.
Archbishop, thank you so much. That's fantastic. Deborah, from the Buddhist perspective, would you like to share your reflections, please?
Yes. This year is the COP21. We have more than Buddhist faith representative from all over the world. This is an ethical issue. So we are promoting Ethical Eating Day, January 11, since last year in Peru. The Ethical Eating Day is started by our founder, Master Zheng Yan. We all know the situation. We all know we face the deadlock. We all know we are no conclusion of common consensus, but we never give up. We need to move forward. In order to move forward is take the action. The action is coordination among the faith. I concur all the proposals, suggestions with all the panelists. We all need to work together. We need to communicate, coming over here to share our voices, to talk about our concern, to present our outcome. And we need to coordinate, each one of us, no matter you are Buddhist, you are Muslim. If we can coordinate our outcome together to demonstrate the number, then we can share with the government policy procedure, the decision makers to see this is the power, this is the position, this is the communication contribution from faith-based. So ethical eating, January 11, it should be a milestone to move forward. We already, for the past 5 days so far, we already get commitment from more than 1.8 million Buddhists around the world committed to mobilize this kind of movement. So one day, vegetarian, one movement, one country, one Mother Earth. Please join with us. Ethical Eating Day, January 11.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Michel Roy from Caritas International is working all around the world, so please share your reflections.
Well, after 6 days now of the COP, we are a little bit worried that what is going to come out is not at the level that it needs. Paris is such an important moment. Everybody's been mobilizing around the world, but the voices, our voices, which are still close and worldwide, are not getting in enough into the discussions and negotiations here. So we feel worried. We'd like to stress a few points on which we want progress. Article 2, reference to human rights. This is being discussed, but if we don't have human rights, and we don't have a human rights-based approach to face climate change, I think we will not get where we want to go. A second point is about food security. The impact that climate change has on the peoples, of which we are witnesses every day, everywhere in the world, is related to food. And as it was already said in Article 2, again, food security must be put in there. The third one is about decarbonization. And there are lots of reluctance to include anything about fossil fuels, getting out of fossil fuels, about renewables, promoting renewables. And if we don't succeed in getting this in, I think we will miss a lot. So we still have a week. Much more has to be done. We hope ministers can take that up. But we should not, or they should not look at, vested interests, country per country or group of countries per country, per group of countries. We are one human family, and we need an agreement which promotes this one human family. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michel. And Archbishop Seraphim, you have the last couple of minutes to share.
Thank you very much. I'm going to speak as a member of the World Council, of the Central Committee of the World Council of Churches. In 1972, it was the first time in the history of the humanity to have a meeting in Stockholm, and only 40 people were there from governments, scientific and academics, but also there was participation of the World Council of Churches to mention the threat of our planet. And of course, unfortunately, it took 20 years to the humanity to go to the Rio de Janeiro meeting to decide for the establishment of the new framework of the United Nations to protect the planet, the future generations. And of course, the resolution came later in '94, and then it took 20 years to the humanity for implementation of the Kyoto Protocol in 2008 until 2012. And unfortunately, we realized that the countries who are responsible for more than 50% of the pollution never follow for this protocol. And now the things are different. All of us who were in COP21 Durban, we remember how the WCC with the other faith communities organized a campaign. It was the first time to appoint a hot committee to work for the Paris Agreement. So now, after 4 years, we are in the position to see positive elements. And in Doha also, there was a resolution the countries to do things in relation to the climate change until 2020. So we have to be careful now And this is the role of the WCC. As you know, the establishment of this organization took place after the sufferings of the two world wars of the whole humanity for peace and reconciliation, not just only to protect the Christians, but the whole body of the humanity. And I think the role of the WCC to coordinate this initiative is very important for all of us, and we are grateful that always they are there. They are members of the staff and the members to help all of us. So in this Paris Agreement, we have to take into account the following 4 points. First of all, participation of all the members. Number 2, timing and number 3, implementation. And number 4, finance. And I think the faith communities are in the position to propose how all members of the United Nations to reduce by 20% their military developments and to start using these funds for climate change action. The rich countries, they can use 10% for their countries, the other 10% for the poor countries, and the poor countries, they hold 20% for themselves on the condition to solve also the problem of poverty and corruption. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Excellent. Well, you've heard an amazing panel of views, united by a concern for solidarity and justice, faiths coming together, not just here at a high level, but also on the ground across the world. So I want to open it up to any questions that are there from the audience, please. If you have a particular panel member that you'd like to ask the question of, please make that clear. So lady right at the back, and then the lady at the front.
Yes, that's right. Vanya Walkley from Standard Publications, Malta. My question relates to the Pope's encyclical, Laudato Si. Sorry about this echo. Bernd and Michel Roy, do you see amongst the people you talk to here a Laudato Si impact or effect? And how do you think the other faiths, Christian and non, can help spread the message of Pope Francis, who said very clearly at the start of the encyclical, I appeal to everybody and I want a dialogue with everybody?
Thank you so much. I'm going to take a couple of questions and then people. So this lady here.
I wanted to, Joan Stevenson from the Watershed Sentinel. And I wanted to ask about the fact that they're no longer talking about commitments, only about contributions. In the October 23rd, they were talking about, they were still in brackets, but commitments was there. And I also wanted to ask whether you've been lobbying for all states to use a common base, because it used to be that 1990, a certain percentage below 1990 by 2020. And it's very hard to compare the different should be commitments.
Okay, thank you very much. One final question, well, 2. So that man at the very back, and then there's a gentleman just here.
Yes, good morning. My name is François Briquet from the Global Water Partnership. I just have a small question. We do understand that the faith-based organizations do have a role to play in shaping the vision and of what could become our humanity. But to be very precise, I do believe that you have an amazing role to play, because climate change can be dealt with not only with better policies, better investments, but with behavior change. And this behavior change issue, we don't hear about it here. And so please, do talk about it. What is your, please raise your voice about it.
Okay, that's excellent, thank you. And the gentleman there. Okay, we have only 5 minutes left, so please, you read.
Hi, my name is Isaac. I'm from the United States with the HBCU climate delegation. And understanding that there's no power greater than that of divine power, and also acknowledging the fact that you guys had explained that you don't foresee a lot of support, or you don't foresee that this deal might include things such as loss damage. How do you guys, or what mechanism do you guys have in place to spearhead the progression towards climate change or climate justice?
Okay, thank you. Right, so we've definitely got Bernd and Michelle on Laudato Si. I'm thinking about Jyoti and Deborah on the lifestyle questions, perhaps. Do you feel about the question between commitment and...
Well, I can say something general because time is basically gone.
Okay, lovely. Let's start with Bernd and then Michelle, and then we'll walk along the path.
Okay, I think when we look at the impact of Laudato Si, to be able to measure it, we can look at the heads of state speeches for Monday, and we counted more than 10 who made a reference to Laudato Si. Maybe there were more, I don't know. I think it's very clear that it plays a role. Also, many negotiators come to us and talk to us and see Laudato Si as a bridge builder, and also the different religions and churches as a bridge builder. They know they negotiate many details, but they need also organizations, people, movements, NGOs who not only criticize but also embrace actually in a broader vision, and to show people again and again what's at stake and what is the path to move on. Ivo de Boer, a former chair of the UNFCCC, once told us, "You will bring the human face to the negotiations," and I think that's also what we try to do here.
That's fantastic. Sister Jyoti, you actually talk specifically about lifestyle. I know, Deborah, you mentioned about the ethical eating, but I'm going to go to you, Sister Jyoti, for just to mention that question about behaviour and what's the issue there.
This year has seen more people talk about behavior, lifestyle, change of lifestyle than ever before, including the leaders. And the way we would suggest that this can happen is through taking time for the self, for silence, for reflection, for contemplation. And this is at the heart of every tradition. And so we all stand united recommending that. So if we come back to some basic principles for a spiritual lifestyle, I think many things can change.
Thank you. Archbishop Adicim, would you be willing to give us our final reflections?
Yes, how can we spearhead this? What can we do? Many ways, of course. The nitty-gritty, but also the more frame the narrative we need. I mean, many people are groping for a narrative that voices hope and possibilities. And I think that's where the voices of faith communities are indispensable, because we have the means to do that and to counteract passivity, paralysis and anxiety that goes together with climate change. So framing narratives of hope and possibilities and really facilitate that everything that is an expression of human dignity works together. That includes science, technology, politics, economy, culture, and religion.
I think that's a fantastic place to stop, and my apologies to the rest of my panel members, but we have run out of time. And I do want to make sure that you as journalists, if you're interested in talking to any of the panelists further, then I'm very happy for that to happen, so you've got time. I want to thank you all enormously, all six of you, for your great depth. There's much more that we could say, and so please do come and chat with anybody. Thank you all very much for being part of this morning's conference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, this is brilliant. I'm really sorry.
Yes, yes.